So first of all, just to review, what is a switch? Switches are like bridges on steroids. Every individual port is its own collision domain, which allows your network to be more efficient in how devices communicate. They can have many, many ports. So depending upon the switch, you can have 32 ports all the way up to hundreds of ports. They have larger memory than a bridge would, faster processing because things are done in hardware versus software, and all the decisions are made inside of that hardware. The reason we use switches is in most cases to provide LAN segmentation. Switches and bridges are used to segment LANs and reduce collision domains. Bridges isolate into only 2 collision domains, whereas each switch port can be its own collision domain. A LAN is all part of the same broadcast domain. But remember, a simple definition of a LAN is all the same broadcast domain, so we only separate the collision domains with a switch. To demonstrate that, in this scenario, we're showing individual hosts connected to individual ports on a switch, and each port is its own collision domain, allowing that host to have access to the full bandwidth of that link. Now, can we mix hubs and switches? Sure we can, and if we do, it's going to have an effect on our network. In this case, the host on the left is in its own collision domain. By connecting up a hub to our switch port, we now make a larger collision domain where each one of those hosts is part of that collision domain, because a hub is just a repeater. There are 2 types of switches: unmanaged switches and managed switches. Unmanaged switch is basically a dumb switch. All the interfaces are in the same broadcast domain, but once again, you have separate collision domains. And it does not run higher level protocols like spanning tree, and it will not forward multicast. A managed switch, however, allows the user to program in functionality. It has many enhanced features, such as security, traffic control, and quality of service, and can be either a layer 2 switch or a layer 3 switch, which we'll talk about some of the routing features later, but it can basically route between networks, or in some cases, virtual networks, which we will also talk about later. You're able to configure these separate virtual networks to further segment the traffic on the switch, and individual ports are able to be assigned to different virtual broadcast domains. Please join me for the next lesson where we explain the operation of Cisco switches.